Are we really listening? Have you noticed? It seems like having a real conversation is getting harder. Everywhere you look, people are shouting, but are they listening, or are we just talking over each other? We scroll through endless feeds of information. We consume opinions as quickly as we click like. But what happens when we replace genuine dialogue with digital noise? This isn't just about online spaces. Look around your own life. How often do you engage in conversations that genuinely challenge your beliefs or seek to understand a different perspective? This video is about the decline of discourse. It's about how we went from Socrates' thoughtful questioning to the echo chambers of social media. It's about understanding how we got here and what we can do about it. Before we go further, let's define our terms. What do we mean by discourse? It's more than just talking, it's how societies make sense of the world. Discourse is the process of exchanging ideas and information. It's how we build knowledge, establish shared values, and even resolve conflicts. It's the foundation of any functioning society. Think of discourse as a muscle. Like any muscle, it needs exercise. It needs to be challenged, stretched, and strengthened. Otherwise, it atrophies. And when discourse weakens, so too does our ability to think critically, to empathize with others, and to solve complex problems. The consequences are all around us. We live in a world facing unprecedented challenges: climate change, political polarization, social injustice. These are complex issues that demand our attention, our collaboration, and our capacity for reasoned dialogue. Yet we seem to be losing our ability to talk to one another constructively. We retreat to echo chambers where our own biases are confirmed and opposing viewpoints are demonized. This isn't just an intellectual exercise. The erosion of discourse has real-world consequences. It fuels polarization, undermines trust, and makes it harder to find common ground. This video is a call to action. It's about understanding the historical forces that have shaped our current predicament and exploring pathways to rebuilding a culture of meaningful discourse. It's about rediscovering the power of listening, questioning, and engaging with ideas that challenge our own. Imagine ancient Athens. The year is 400 BC. The sun beats down on a bustling marketplace. This is the Agora, the heart of Athenian democracy. It's a place where citizens gather not just to trade goods, but to trade ideas. In the Agora, every voice could be heard. Politicians delivered fiery speeches. Philosophers debated the nature of reality. Ordinary citizens argued about everything from law to art to the meaning of life. This was a culture that valued public discourse. Athenians believed that the best way to arrive at truth was through open and honest debate. They understood that disagreement wasn't something to be feared, but embraced. But the Athenian Agora wasn't just about free speech. It was about a particular kind of speech, one governed by reason, logic, and a willingness to engage with opposing viewpoints. Socrates, the gadfly of Athens. Enter Socrates, a philosopher unlike any other. He wasn't interested in preaching from a pedestal. He preferred to wander the agora, engaging his fellow citizens in thought-provoking conversations. Socrates was notorious for his relentless questioning. He was like a gadfly, buzzing around Athens, prodding people to examine their beliefs and assumptions. He believed that true knowledge began with acknowledging one's own ignorance. Imagine being stopped in the marketplace by this scruffy philosopher. He asks you a simple question: what is justice? You think you know the answer, but Socrates has a way of revealing the flaws in your logic. He doesn't give you easy answers. Instead, he forces you to confront your own contradictions. He makes you realize that what you thought you knew might be incomplete or even wrong. The Socratic method questioned everything. This approach, known as the Socratic method, wasn't about scoring points in a debate. It was about pursuing truth through a process of rigorous questioning and critical thinking. Socrates believed that true learning came from within. His goal wasn't to tell people what to think, but to teach them how to think for themselves. He wanted to empower citizens to be active participants in the search for knowledge. The Socratic method wasn't always comfortable. It could be frustrating, even humbling, to have your beliefs challenged so relentlessly. But it was also profoundly liberating. By encouraging people to question everything, Socrates laid the foundation for a more critical and engaged citizenry, one capable of grappling with complex issues and holding power to account. From Athens to Rome, the shifting sands of discourse. The torch of civilization passed from Athens to Rome. The Roman Empire, a sprawling empire built on military might and strategic alliances, had a very different relationship with discourse. While the Athenians valued open debate and philosophical inquiry, the Romans were more pragmatic. They saw discourse as a tool for achieving practical goals, for building consensus, for inspiring armies, and for maintaining order. This isn't to say that the Romans didn't value eloquence, they did. But for them, the power of speech lay not just in its ability to reveal truth, but in its ability to persuade and to move people to action. The Roman Forum, the heart of Roman public life, was a stage where skilled orators captivated audiences with their words. Here, rhetoric reigned supreme, the art of using language effectively and persuasively. Section 2, Masters of Persuasion, Cicero and the Art of Rhetoric. No figure embodies Roman rhetoric better than Marcus Tullius Cicero. A statesman, lawyer and philosopher, Cicero was considered one of the greatest orators of all time. Cicero believed that a skilled orator should master three key elements: logic, credibility, and emotion. By weaving these elements together, a speaker could appeal to both the head and the heart of their audience. Cicero's speeches were masterpieces of persuasion. He used logic to build his arguments, his reputation to establish his authority, and emotional appeals to sway his listeners. He understood the power of language to inspire, to inflame, and to control, but there was a dark side to this mastery of rhetoric. As discourse became increasingly focused on persuasion, it also became more susceptible to manipulation. The line between eloquence and deception could be dangerously thin. Section 3. When discourse becomes weaponized, the fall of the Roman Republic. The Roman Republic, once a model of civic virtue and deliberative government, began to crumble under the weight of its own internal divisions. Ambitious men, skilled in the art of rhetoric, exploited the power of language to advance their own agendas. The Forum, once a place for reasoned debate, descended into chaos and violence. Demagogues whipped up mobs with their incendiary speeches. Political rivals resorted to character assassination and slander. Truth became a casualty in the battle for power. Cicero himself, a staunch defender of the Republic, became a victim of the very forces he had warned against. His eloquent pleas for reason and moderation fell on deaf ears. In the end, he was silenced by the sword, a martyr to the collapse of Roman discourse. The fall of the Roman Republic is a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked rhetoric. It reminds us that discourse, for all its power, can be a double-edged sword. In the wrong hands, it can be used not to build a more just and equitable society, but to divide, to manipulate, and to destroy. Section 1. The Rise of Faith, a New Authority on Truth. The Roman Empire crumbles. From its ruins rises a new force that will shape Western civilization for centuries, the Church. With this shift in power comes a profound transformation in how we understand truth and knowledge. In the age of faith, revelation, not reason, becomes the ultimate source of authority. The Bible, interpreted by the Church, dictates not just matters of faith and morals, but also our understanding of the natural world. This isn't to say that reason is abandoned entirely, but it's now seen as subservient to faith. The role of logic is no longer to question, but to confirm what is already believed to be true. Imagine a world where the answers are already known. The great mysteries of existence, the origin of the universe, the nature of good and evil, are all laid out in sacred texts. The task of scholars is not to discover new truths, but to interpret and defend existing dogma. Out of this intellectual landscape emerges scholasticism, a method of learning that dominated medieval universities for centuries. Scholastic thinkers were brilliant logicians, but their inquiries were confined within the rigid framework of church doctrine. Imagine a vast cathedral, its soaring arches and intricate stained glass windows, a testament to the power of faith. Within these walls, scholars engage in elaborate debates, their arguments structured like medieval architecture itself, with every point meticulously supported by scripture and tradition. This was the world of Thomas Aquinas, perhaps the most influential scholastic thinker. Aquinas argued that faith and reason were not opposed but complementary. Reason, he believed, could illuminate the truths revealed by God, but there was a catch. Reason could never contradict faith. Its role was to clarify, to systematize, and to defend the teachings of the Church. Any idea that challenged church doctrine was deemed heresy and swiftly silenced. The scholastic approach had its strengths. It preserved classical learning and developed sophisticated tools of logic and argumentation, but it also came at a cost, the stifling of free inquiry. Imagine a world where the great scientific discoveries, the Copernican revolution, the theory of evolution, are met not with curiosity, but with condemnation. Imagine a world where challenging the status quo could land you in prison or worse. This is the danger of discourse without dissent. When logic becomes a tool of control, when questioning is suppressed, and when dogma reigns supreme, intellectual progress grinds to a halt. The legacy of scholasticism is a mixed bag. It reminds us that even the most rigorous logic can be used to justify the unjustifiable. It's a cautionary tale about the importance of intellectual freedom and the dangers of mistaking certainty for truth. Picture Europe emerging from the shadows of the Middle Ages. The year is 1400. A spirit of change is in the air. Scholars, artists, and thinkers are captivated by a thrilling rediscovery, the lost wisdom of ancient Greece and Rome. This isn't just about digging up old scrolls and statues. It's a rediscovery of a worldview. The classical texts whispered of human potential, of reason's power, and of a life lived in pursuit of knowledge and virtue. This is the dawn of the Renaissance, a period of explosive creativity and intellectual ferment. At its heart is humanism, a philosophy that places human beings, not divine decree, at the center of our understanding of the world. Imagine the thrill of encountering Plato's dialogues for the first time, of debating Cicero's speeches in bustling city squares. This wasn't just dusty academic knowledge, it was a vibrant reawakening of the human spirit. Beyond dogma, the Renaissance embrace of reason, art, and the individual. The Renaissance challenged the medieval view of discourse. Where scholasticism sought to contain reason within the bounds of religious dogma, Renaissance thinkers celebrated the power of human inquiry to explore every facet of existence. Leonardo da Vinci, a true Renaissance man, embodies this spirit. He wasn't content to be just a painter, sculptor, or inventor. He was driven by an insatiable curiosity that led him to dissect corpses, study the stars, and design flying machines. Across Europe, universities were buzzing with new ideas. Humanist scholars like Erasmus and Montaigne challenged established truths, championed critical thinking, and encouraged a more nuanced and skeptical approach to knowledge. This wasn't just about intellectual freedom. It was about recognizing the inherent dignity and worth of every individual. It was a rejection of blind obedience and a call to engage with the world through reason, observation, and experience. The printing press unleashing the power of the word. Imagine the impact of a single invention that could spread ideas at lightning speed. In 1450, Johannes Gutenberg unveils his printing press, a moment as revolutionary as the invention of the internet. Suddenly, books, once rare and expensive treasures, become widely available. Knowledge, once confined to monasteries and universities, begins to circulate freely among the public. The printing press democratizes discourse like never before. This is a pivotal moment in the history of communication. The printing press fuels the Renaissance, spreads humanist ideas, and paves the way for the Protestant Reformation. It gives voice to dissent and empowers individuals to challenge authority. Martin Luther's 95. Theses nailed to the church door in Wittenberg are amplified by the printing press, sparking a firestorm of debate that will forever change the religious landscape of Europe. The power of the word has been unleashed. The age of reason, from revelation to rationality. Imagine a world where the answers to life's biggest questions aren't found in ancient scriptures or pronouncements from kings. Instead, they're discovered through observation, experimentation, and the power of human reason. This is the Enlightenment, an era that dared to challenge centuries of tradition and dogma. It was a time when thinkers like John Locke, Isaac Newton, and Immanuel Kant fundamentally shifted our understanding of knowledge and truth. The Enlightenment wasn't just a philosophical movement, it was a cultural earthquake. It questioned the authority of the church, advocated for the separation of powers, and championed the rights of the individual. And at the heart of this revolution was a profound belief in the power of discourse. Imagine coffee houses buzzing with debate, salons filled with intellectuals arguing late into the night, and pamphlets filled with radical ideas circulating like wildfire. This was a time when discourse wasn't just encouraged, it was seen as the engine of progress. To Section 2, the Enlightenment salons, where ideas sparked revolutions. Picture a Parisian salon in the 18th century. Elegant women and men gather not for idle gossip, but for passionate discussions about philosophy, science, and politics. These salons, hosted by influential women, became crucibles of Enlightenment thought. Think of Madame Geoffrin, whose salon drew the likes of Montesquieu and Diderot, or Julie de Lespinasse, whose gatherings sparked fiery debates on topics ranging from literature to the abolition of slavery. These women understood that ideas have power, and that discourse could shape the destiny of nations. The salons weren't just about intellectual sparring. They were about creating a space for civil and reasoned debate. Participants were expected to defend their views with logic and evidence, to listen respectfully to opposing viewpoints, and to engage in constructive criticism. The salons were microcosms of the Enlightenment ideal, a society where reason, not force or tradition, determined the course of human affairs. It was in these salons that the seeds of revolution were sown, revolutions that would topple monarchies and reshape the world. Section 3, A Republic of Letters, the Power of the Pen. The Enlightenment wasn't confined to salons and coffee houses. It was also fueled by a vast network of correspondence, a republic of letters that spanned continents. Thinkers like Voltaire, Rousseau, and Benjamin Franklin exchanged ideas through letters, pamphlets, and books, sparking a transatlantic conversation about liberty, equality, and the nature of government. Imagine the anticipation of receiving a letter from across the ocean, filled with news of scientific discoveries, philosophical treatises, or political debates. Each letter was a precious cargo, carrying the weight of ideas that could challenge the status quo. The written word took on a new urgency and power. Thomas Paine's, a pamphlet that argued for American independence, sold over 100,000 copies in just a few months, galvanizing support for the revolution. The Enlightenment demonstrated the power of discourse to transcend borders, to inspire social change, and to shape the course of history. It was a testament to the enduring human capacity for reason, for dialogue, and for the pursuit of a better world. Section 1, The Fragility of Reason, from Public Square to Digital Echo Chamber. From the Athenian Agora to the Enlightenment salons, we've seen how discourse, the art of reasoned conversation, has shaped civilizations. Socrates challenged Athenians with uncomfortable questions. Roman orators mastered the art of persuasion. Renaissance thinkers rediscovered the power of human inquiry. And Enlightenment philosophers dared to imagine a world governed by reason. But this journey through history is also a cautionary tale. We've seen how easily discourse can be manipulated, how quickly it can descend into chaos, and how readily it can be stifled by dogma and fear. The fall of the Roman Republic, the silencing of Galileo, the rise of totalitarian ideologies, all serve as stark reminders of the fragility of reason. And today, in the digital age, we face a new set of challenges. The internet, once hailed as a tool for democratizing knowledge and connecting the world, has become a breeding ground for misinformation, polarization, and the erosion of civil discourse. We've retreated into echo chambers where algorithms feed us a steady diet of information that confirms our existing biases. Nuance is lost in a sea of 280-character pronouncements, and reasoned debate is often drowned out by the clamor for attention. Have we forgotten the lessons of the past? Section 2, Rebuilding Apuria Education, Design and Ethical Curiosity. The challenges we face are real, but so is our capacity for hope. The human impulse towards dialogue, towards understanding, towards building a better world. This impulse is as enduring as the forces that seek to silence it. So, what can we do? How do we rebuild a culture of discourse in a digital age? First, we must reclaim the spirit of that Socratic embrace of not knowing. We must cultivate humility, curiosity, and a willingness to engage with ideas that challenge our own. We must teach critical thinking skills not just in the classroom, but in every aspect of life. Second, we must demand better from our technology. We must hold social media platforms accountable for the spread of misinformation and the amplification of hate. We must design digital spaces that encourage empathy, nuance, and respectful dialogue. Finally, we must remember that discourse is not a spectator sport. It requires active participation, a willingness to listen as well as to speak, and a commitment to finding common ground even in the face of disagreement. The future of our democracy, indeed the future of our planet, may depend on it.